welcome and thank you so much for tuning in for the Cloud Technology Associate launch webinar. We have a packed session prepared for you today, but before I hand it over to our expert speakers, here's some key information in case you were wondering. We are recording this session and the video will be made available later this week. The recording will also include a link to the slides that we're using today. Feel free to ask questions. There's a question panel on the lower right section of your screen. We are planning a brief Q&A session at the end. So the agenda looks as follows. We will first talk about the CCC before we deep dive into the cloud and the CTA certification. With that being said, I think it's time for me to give it over to today's speakers. Mark, Sudhakar, would you please introduce yourselves and start the session? Mark, you first, please.
Thanks, Jeremy. Hello, everybody. It's Mark O'Loughlin here, the MD of the Cloud Credential Council. I'm happy to be here. We'll take a look at CTA in a moment. And we're joined by Sudhakar, expert on all things cloud.
Hey guys, thank you for having me on this webinar. I'm Sudhakar, an expert trainer and author associated with Cloud Credential Council for now over 7 years. And I'm also the lead author for this CTA course, which is the latest update. So let's go ahead and have a brief overview of what has been in this new course that we have launched.
That's great. Thank you, Sudhakar. Great to have you on board today. So again, hello, everybody, and welcome to today's session as we look at the Cloud Technology Associate course, the CTA, from the CCC. My name is Mark O'Loughlin, the MD of the Cloud Credential Council, and the CCC being the home of digital ready professionals. Now, CCC supports both individuals and organizations in their digital transformation journeys, and we do this by optimizing talents and developing skills for digital ready professionals. And we achieve this through the CCC Professional Certification portfolio, and that portfolio is broad and covers areas including AI, artificial intelligence, cloud, big data, IoT, Internet of Things, and blockchain. CCC certifications and overall portfolio are vendor neutral, and we're focused on delivering and developing digital ready professionals who can help organizations succeed in their digital ambitions. And now I'm going to hand you over to Sudhakar, who's going to take us on a look through cloud computing, cloud technology, and the Cloud Technology Associate as well. Over to you, Sudhakar, for a few moments.
Yeah, hello everyone again, and thank you and Mark once again for having me on this webinar. Cloud computing is considered a disruptive technology because of its elasticity, flexible pricing models, and maintenance costs when you compare it to traditional IT service provisioning. Cloud computing is also a well-adopted business model today in many organizations. Initially, when it was launched, there was a lot of apprehension, but then today with latest security measures, mitigation needs, and everything, we have many of the organizations adopting the cloud. The cloud initially was used mainly as a storage service, but today it is used for various computing needs as well. So organizations have started evaluating many services, and today it is almost full stream in the industry, healthcare, defense, education, and many other sectors. This current classroom, as well as the e-learning Cloud Technology Associate course, version 4 is the 4th version update in the last 7 years, which goes to show how rapidly the digital transformation ecosystem is evolving and advancing. In this major update, the focus is on how cloud computing integrates with other digital transformation technologies such as artificial intelligence, machine learning, Internet of Things, blockchain, immersive technologies like augmented and virtual realities, robotic process automations, digital twins, quantum computing, 3D printing, and the like. In the module for cloud security, risks and governance, special focus is on OWASPs, or the Open Web Application Security Project's top 10 precautions to be taken while working with the cloud. So what is cloud computing? If you ask 100 people what they understand by cloud computing, you get 100 different answers. However, one of the most widely adopted definition of cloud computing is provided by the National Institute of Standards and Technology, also known as NIST, which simply states that cloud computing is a model which enables ubiquitous, convenient, on-demand network access to a shared pool of resources that can be rapidly provisioned and released with minimal management effort or service provider interaction. This cloud model is composed of 5 essential characteristics, 3 service models, and 4 deployment models. Yeah, this is quite a big definition, but then this has been adopted by many organizations across the world. Gartner, a very popular research firm, defines cloud computing more as a style of computing where scalable and elastic IT-related capabilities are provided as a service to customers using internet technologies. Sometimes cloud computing is also referred to as the cloud, which is considered to be a delivery of on-demand shared computing resources, everything from applications to development platforms to virtual resources over the network on a pay-per-use basis. Primarily, it's a service or a business model which is backed by virtualization technology and includes standards and architectures. The definition of cloud computing from NIST also specifies the 5 essential characteristics, which are as follows. The first one we look at is on-demand self-service, which unilaterally provisions computing capabilities as and when required. Broad network access provides you access from thin or thick client platforms and from anywhere in the world. The various devices that you can access from include desktop, laptops, PDAs, tablets, smartphones. In short, for any device that can connect to the internet and has a browser facility. Resource pooling, wherein resources are shared using a multi-tenancy model. And rapid elasticity with the ability to scale with demand. So with increasing or decreasing workloads, you can scale according to your requirements. Finally, the 5th essential characteristic is measured service or a metering capability, just to understand how much you are charged for the amount of usage that you have incurred. The 3 service models are software as a service, popularly known as SaaS, the widest or the largest service model used in the cloud today. They're used generally by end users through web browsers or lightweight applications. Platform as a service, used by developers or programmers mainly for development and testing. And infrastructure as a service, or IaaS, used by operations team, including administrators, support, etc., for provisioning and maintaining the cloud services. The 4 deployment models include the public cloud, where services are delivered worldwide across the internet and can be accessible by anyone. A private cloud, which is normally meant only for a single organization, mainly for the purposes of security. Community, another variant of a private, but now meant for multiple organizations which have the same line of business. And then finally, the hybrid cloud, which is a combination of any of the above mentioned deployment models, and that has increased to more than 58% today over the years. Another very popular deployment model used in many organizations is called the Virtual Private Cloud, or VPC, which combines the benefits of a public and private cloud and yet provides high security and privacy measures. Early examples of cloud computing included time sharing in mainframes and email systems. So cloud computing is not a new terminology as such. The history of cloud computing can be categorized into three different phases. The first phase relates to mainframe, when in 1961, Professor John McCarthy proposed computing as a public utility. In 1964 and 72, IBM brought up a virtual machine operating system. So it was typically operating systems that were capable of using virtualization. Unfortunately, the internet was not there at that time, so they were not able to exploit virtualization to the fullest extent. In the second phase, where we had the PC, the client server and web technologies, in 1980, popularity of the PC and the client server model came into existence. In 91, the World Wide Web, or WWW, popularized the internet. And in 1997, the first use of the term cloud computing was coined. The last phase in this particular evolution relates to cloud computing, where in 1999, Salesforce launched the first cloud application along with VMware. And in 2002, Amazon Web Services, or AWS, started their services with the emergence of also a service-oriented architectures. In 2006, Hadoop was discovered, shortly followed by services released by Amazon, such as Simple Storage Service or S3 and Amazon Elastic Compute Cloud, so which is EC2. In 2007, Salesforce introduced Force.com, a very popular programming platform. And in 2008, Google App Engine was released. Microsoft Azure was the last, most well-known launch, which was in 2009. So today, there are many cloud service providers, along with the above listed ones, such as IBM, Alibaba, Oracle, and so on. Today, 90% or more companies are on the cloud. Estimates suggest that the global cloud computing market is expected to reach more than $623 billion by 2023. The main reasons for cloud adoption are access from anywhere, cost savings, and flexibility. Cost optimization is the main reason for 47% of the cloud migrations. AWS continues to be the world's leading cloud service provider almost for the last 15 to 16 years. And Microsoft Azure and Google Cloud are the other two main cloud service providers. In 2021, that is this very year, the cloud is expected to process almost 94% of the workloads. Cloud computing is today at the center or hub for all digital transformation technologies. It is a key pillar of the digital transformation technology ecosystem. Each of the new and evolving digital transformation technologies integrates with the cloud to mutually add value proposition to the entire ecosystem. Let's look at some of these digital transformation technologies that make use of the cloud. Big data analytics typically uses cloud storage as well as for analytics processing. DevOps, the focus is on development and operations optimized in the cloud. There's a very popular saying which goes as follows, that if the cloud is an instrument, then DevOps is the musician that plays it. Internet of Things uses storage and processing in the cloud. Blockchain deals with encrypted and secure transactions in a distributed network. Artificial intelligence or machine learning makes use of big data, processing of training and testing models. Robotic process automation or RPA makes use of software automation through the use of cloud services. Digital twin uses cloud to create and test replicas of physical assets. Augmented or virtual reality, also known as immersive technologies, creates presentation models that supplement the real world with artificial digital objects. They use cloud processing and streaming content to headsets and other thin client devices. Quantum computing meets the need of high performance computing requirements. And 3D printing or additive manufacturing is mainly suitable for optimizing in the manufacturing industries. Cloud computing offers many benefits. Here we have listed many the main benefits, which start basically from cost savings. So cloud computing helps reduce costs, especially when all investments and maintenance are taken care of by the service provider. Provisioning and automation, where faster provisioning of IT resources in the cloud speeds up the development and delivery of services. Automation helps in speeding up the process and also reducing manual errors. Scalability and flexibility. Scaling in the cloud is inadvertently easier as the cloud has the characteristic of elasticity. The service is flexible, which allows you to perform various tasks, such as accessing the service from multiple locations, selecting any operating system in the IS model, for example, and using self-service and automation. High availability, replication and virtualization, where you can migrate virtual machines, are the means of high availability in the cloud. In other words, single points of failure are aptly addressed. Metered use. In the traditional environment, you pay for the entire infrastructure and resources, irrespective of the amount of utilization, whereas one pays only for utilized resources in the cloud. Agility. You have a faster time to market. Cloud computing delivers improved agility due to its characteristics such as on-demand self-service and rapid elasticity. It means the enterprises can inherently focus now on their core business and innovate, introduce new products and services, enter new markets, and adapt to changing circumstances. User experience. Cloud computing enhances user experience in many areas, such as web-based user interfaces, more recent versions of software, access anywhere, anytime flexibility, easy to use and flexible capacity. Collaboration. Cloud computing increases collaboration by allowing all employees, including remote workers and executives who are traveling, wherever they are, to sync up and work on documents and share apps simultaneously and receive critical updates in real time. Disaster recovery. When organizations start relying on cloud-based services, they no longer need complex disaster recovery plans or multiple physical sites. Cloud service providers take most of these issues, and they do it much faster and more securely. Strategize resources to core activities. Resources can be coordinated to work on selective projects, as many of the underlying tasks are performed by the cloud provider. High performance computing is no longer limited to those who own supercomputers. Now you can also achieve the same in the cloud whenever required. And finally, green computing with the cloud results with at least 30% less energy consumption and carbon emissions than using on-site servers. The challenges of cloud computing continue to be present even today. All types of organizations, including cloud service providers, are breached regularly with critical outages and in some cases even leading to ransom demands. Let us look at some of these top challenges. Lack of expertise or resources. Managing virtualization, automation, orchestration, and security in a cloud environment requires highly skilled professionals or expertise. And this is the number one major challenge today many organizations are facing. Security and privacy was a leading challenge for many years, and it still introduces many concerns due to the sharing of resources, centralized location of data, and so on. Compliance, because of the different regulations such as GDPR imposed by industry or governments, they cause different other compliance challenges. Data ownership and location. In a public cloud, data is located at the provider's data centers. Hence, an enterprise experiences a direct lack of control over the data. Governance or control. Due to the transfer of some control to the provider, governance is now partially dependent on the cloud provider's infrastructure, policies, and services. Vendor lock-in. Another major challenge is due to the proprietary use of technologies and tools which cause issues in portability and interoperability. Also, it becomes difficult to transition from one service provider to another. Performance, bandwidth and latency issues at times can cause performance degradation. Network connectivity, as more and more enterprises adopt the cloud, the network becomes highly congested and connectivity slowdown occurs. Migration or synchronization. Migration and synchronization issues occur due to proprietary or varying formats. And finally, lack of standardization. Due to the lack of standardization, it causes one to be dependent on several proprietary technologies. The course actually deals with proper and effective measures to overcome all the mentioned cloud challenges. So far, we have provided you a brief glimpse of the various topics covered in this particular updated course. Thank you all for listening to this part of the webinar, and over to you, Mark.
Thank you so much, Sudhakar. I think it's great to see, to present up a lot of the benefits. Cloud provides so many benefits to so many organizations, without a doubt, but it's equally important to understand how to actually achieve some of those benefits. As you said, agility requires an element of DevOps thinking. That was a great analogy you said. If cloud is the instrument, DevOps is the conductor. I think it's good to position that, and also to still say there are challenges in organizations adopting cloud. You said 90% of organizations have adopted some form of cloud. They are getting some of those benefits, maybe not all of them, but certainly they're getting some of those. But we do see in our research that they're still seeing challenges across that range that you've said. Number one, still being lack of expertise or resources, both on the technology front, but also on the business side of cloud, security, privacy, compliance, and they're areas for people to skill up in, to be able to address those challenges for organizations. I think that's very important. So it's always important to weigh what you've done there, the benefits, with some of the challenges that we see, and then that's where the gaps that exist for organizations that need to be solved, and why the CTA, Cloud Technology Associate 4, is really good to help address that. As you said, cloud is everywhere. To repeat again, 90% of organizations using some form of cloud. Everybody's using cloud either in business and also now in our personal lives. And I think, there's more and more new cloud services and capabilities becoming available every year. Hence why we've had to update CTA 4 times in the last 7 years because of the changes. We're happy to do so, but it does show that people still need to upskill and upskill quickly as we go through all this change. I think as we see cloud and digital services becoming easier to use and more accessible, organizations are finding new ways now to extend the use of cloud. And we saw that use extend into, Sudhakar, when you spoke about big data, DevOps, IoT, blockchain, RPA, digital twin, AR, VR, quantum computing, all of those built on cloud as well, which is very interesting. So cloud is still seen as a growth industry, as an early stage but maturing industry, both for business opportunity and also, I think, career opportunity. And businesses need to understand what cloud really is. Going back to, the analogy I use is similar to yours, Sudhakar. If you ask 10 people what cloud is, you get back 10 different answers. If you ask 100 people what cloud is, you will get back 100 different answers. One of those key challenges. So businesses need to help, understand what this is. They need help with that. They need people with skills. They need to understand, I guess, what they can do at cloud, how they might get competitive advantage from cloud, how they might make cloud work with their existing IT and business services. Some of those benefits and challenges that you've mentioned. And I think it's still a challenge which the CTA, the Cloud Technology Associate for, really helps to address. Technical cloud skills are still very, very important, but also the business view of cloud is just as important, that view beyond technology, because I think the business want to have business conversations with IT about their use of cloud, how they expect IT to translate their needs into helping them select the right types of clouds and services. I think from the career opportunities as well, there's a growth area for IT professionals to have both elements of business, not a huge amount, but elements of business and technical cloud skills, I think, in combination. And that's going to help any organization work through and address the challenges that you've presented, identify solutions, and I believe to lead successful cloud initiatives in any organization, sector, or vertical. So an educated IT professional in clouds, looking at business and technology, can be very versatile. And I think that can lead to a very versatile career within cloud. Sudhakar, a quick question. I think we know the answer, but is there any single sector now in which cloud is more prominent, or is it now ubiquitous across all sectors?
I mean, cloud is still very prominent today and increasing more so over the years because of the new evolution of various digital transformation technologies and the advantages and the disadvantages that we have seen so far about the cloud.
Yeah, I think that's a fair point to make. That's good. We'll see from cloud roles, there are so many different cloud roles. We're representing a very small number here just as an example. All of the tech companies, especially the large global blue chips and software as a service providers and software organizations and developments, all require more and more cloud skills. There's not enough of them. Equally so does any organization today. Software is changing the world, cloud is changing the world, digital is changing the world. Just a few popular entry-level roles here. We could spend a whole hour on roles itself, but we just wanted to present a few entry-level roles, which can lead to more advanced roles. Includes, for example, in some of the tech organizations, the Associate and Cloud Solution Architect, for example, in Amazon, very popular. Associate and Cloud System Engineer in Google. Cloud Triage Support Associate, we've put up MongoDB here. That could be any organization though. These and similar roles exist and are very popular and are very in demand and sought after for any non-IT and non-technology firms as well as the technology firms. It's an absolute growth market for jobs and roles. The potential to have a career in cloud, I think, is limitless in all business sectors and verticals and markets. And Sudhakar, I have a question for you there. I think, would you agree that, say, we're just showing a few entry-level roles here, but these roles can actually lead to a full career, an absolute full career for the rest of your life in cloud? Would you agree with that? Would you be seeing that yourself?
Well, as an entry level, yes, you can get to start knowing the cloud, but what requires is, again, you need to advance to the higher levels where the complexities arise. For example, today companies are more prone to adopting inter-cloud services. So they're not just dependent on one cloud. So they just want another cloud also as a backup. So associating or synchronizing migrating across clouds is a major challenge, and entry-level jobs will not be in a position to do that. So they have to advance their skills to understand how interactivity or the interplay between clouds or within clouds, the different models work. They all need to work on those aspects as well.
Fantastic. Yeah, so it's like a journey, like any other career, that the
Yeah.
entry points can get you in, but you need to keep building on those and building on the skills. I think, as you said, we're on Cloud Technology Associate version 4 in 7 years. Everything is changing so quickly these days. So to keep on top of that skill development, skill journey, skill path, to keep your career moving forward to get into the advanced levels. And also when you understand cloud, that you'll understand that the hybrid model, the interoperability between all these other systems is very important. And that's where a lot of complexity comes in. And that's where careers can really benefit from this. And organizations will be willing to, will be looking for this type of skill profile going forward. And, we see more and more news stories about cloud these days. If you do a search for cloud, you will just see lots and lots of stories. Generally good stories, sometimes highlighting benefits. Sometimes we see challenges. That is the way of the world. Some stories there promote cloud. There's some great success stories. And sometimes others where things go wrong, generally not having sufficient cloud skills is generally the challenge, or we didn't think about it. Or some of those challenges Sudhakar mentioned earlier, the lack of expertise, security and privacy is very important. Compliance, what you comply to if there's a lack of standardization. So you have to think through some of these challenges in your organization where there might not be some ready answers in industry just yet. And that's where the skills profile comes in, and the knowledge and knowing about cloud, I think, is very important. And certainly some of the things positioned in the CTA. I think initially there was a reluctance in some sectors against adopting cloud. For example, governments and public sector have been somewhat slow. Banking is a very traditional industry and will take precautions before adopting new technologies. However, they're all catching up today, and we see ongoing news stories in all sectors adopting cloud and increasing the uses of cloud, from finance, public sector and government who were slow, who are now catching up. Banking, who were quite reserved, are now saying we need to adopt cloud because our competitors are doing lots of interesting things in cloud. Telcos, farmers, even right down to small and medium-sized enterprises. So you will still see lots of news stories on cloud, lots of them about the benefits, success stories. Read those, understand where the successes come from. Some of them still showing challenges, understand what challenges other people face, other organizations face, and learn from those.
Mark, I would just like to add one point here.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, so in addition to the various sectors that you mentioned, it also is now being adopted widely in healthcare industries, which had very stringent data security related concerns. And HIPAA is one of the standards which now even the cloud is adhering to. So even healthcare has become a major player in the cloud market.
That's a fantastic point, and that shows a sector that would have been reluctant in the past because of data privacy concerns are now working through that, and some level of standardization is coming in based on that standard that you mentioned. Might not be fully where it needs to be, but it's catching up and it's getting there. So I think that's a really good example of where we're going in the industry, where things are changing and the adoption is just increasing. That's a really good example. On a recent CTC Talks podcast, I spoke with Matt Stratton, and Matt spoke about responding to organizational trauma in relation to cloud services, which I thought was really interesting. And a good example that he gave, which we present here, is when you think about, a fire is not an emergency to the fire department. And we asked why, and Matt's answer was, well, it's because the fire department are trained in the skill of handling the fire and the situation. And I think from that, so too should cloud professionals be trained in handling situations where challenges arise in cloud environments, be it a major incident, be it an architectural design decision, and be it the question, what cloud provider should we choose for the business? I think that, thinking about that the cloud and the IT department should have the capabilities and skills to deal with the challenges they face, especially business challenges. And in that way, responding to organizational trauma, whatever that is. Another phrase would be organizational challenges. So it's an interesting concept from Matt. I think it's very relevant to cloud. You can have a look through the podcast online and find that and have a listen to what Matt was saying. And we'll give you some details regarding the CCC Cloud Technology Associate 4 certification. So CCC Cloud Technology Associate provides critical knowledge and understanding of the basics of cloud from today's perspective. The CTA builds upon definitions, the concepts, and the application of cloud, also introducing fundamentals, terminologies, and concepts. And Sudhakar mentioned some of those, the 5 essential characteristics, which when you ask people, they tend not to know. The service models, the deployment models, which some people know, some people don't. Very basic, very fundamental, but the absolute essence of what cloud is. Cloud Technology Associate suits a wide target audience, and we have online self-paced learning experiences, which are most popular at the moment. There is classroom-based learning still available as an option, but we expect limitations on those for the current time due to the global events and lockdowns. So still online and self-paced learning available. Learning time probably approximately 14 hours. And critical areas and learning outcomes from the CTA include what we mentioned there, looking at the fundamental concepts of cloud and virtualization, including business benefits of cloud, often overlooked. What are the business benefits? That's in business language. That's what the business people want to know. And then you translate that into the technologies. Identify the technical challenges and the business challenges and migration measures involved in cloud and virtualization. Again, understanding the benefits, the challenges, and getting the right result for the business using cloud. Understand the latest digital trends associated with cloud, looking at cloud security, which is very, very, very important to get right. Identify the risks involved in cloud as well as mitigation measures. Therefore, you're likely to have a good outcome using cloud. And look at the steps to successfully adopt cloud services. So a very good blend, a very balanced view of cloud for the business using technology and understanding benefits, risks, and mitigation. And cloud is changing how business today are being run. And I think it's important to have the relevant skills in cloud to be successful in cloud, both from a personal, individual, and a business perspective. And some good strategies to consider regarding your cloud initiative or how cloud will accelerate your career include skilling up and keep pace with developments in technology, understanding the impact of cloud for your industry before others do, and earning credible and career-enhancing certifications from the CCC. And now back to Irma for a few words on how to get started with the Cloud Technology Associate course from the CCC.
Thank you so much, Mark, and thank you also, Sudhakar, for this really detailed information there. Yeah, Mark already mentioned it, and I think it makes sense to highlight how to get access to the certification, right? And there are 2 ways you can prepare for the exam. The first one is to purchase the material through your training provider. CCC has training partners all over the world, and the full list is accessible on the CCC website. We will make sure to include the link in the email with the webinar recording. The second way is to access the e-learning directly through the CCC website. Similarly, we'll add a link to the email you receive later this week. And this brings us to the end of the session, and we have just a little bit of time for some questions that we received. I have made a small selection. The first question would be, what is the best way to quickly identify threats involved with implementation?
Threats with implementation to clouds. The quickest way I do it is have a look back halfway through the slides today where Sudhakar mentioned benefits and challenges, and take out the benefits. Are you achieving those, and if not, why? and look at the challenges, and are you likely to experience some of those? If so, why, and what are you going to do about it? So there's a quick cheat sheet, I guess, from today's session. I don't know, Sudhakar, is there any other view you'd have, any other tips on that as well?
Well, what you could do is just go over a few of these years breaches and exploits that have been occurring in this cloud industry, and then identify what are the common reasons and how organizations have successfully mitigated them. So these are the same reoccurring issues that crop up from time to time. And once you are ready with a solution, then it is easier to handle all these threats.
Absolutely. Somebody else has made or has come across the challenges in the past. You can find those with a quick search and then try and find what they did, or work out yourself what you need to do to mitigate against that challenge, because unless you do something to mitigate it, you're likely to experience it yourself.
Exactly.
Yeah. Good point, good point. The second question I have that is more related to the cloud certifications that are available. So it says, there are several cloud certifications available. How can I know which one fits me in this process?
Well, I would go ahead with first identifying the need for a vendor neutral as compared to a proprietary one. So the ones today floating in the market which are very popular are the ones which are specific to a particular service provider. So whether you consider AWS, Azure, or Google Cloud, what happens is you are locked into the terminologies and the technologies that are associated with that provider. Ideally, the first step for any professional to start looking at cloud is to go through a vendor neutral course such as CTA, where we bring out the best aspects for all providers. So later on, once you complete this certification, you are practically ready to take up any of these proprietary based advanced certifications.
Yeah, I think that's really sage advice. Typically, people tend to get the technology training, but it's very specific on the technology, and then they have a gap in the wider vendor neutral business aspect of cloud, the bigger picture view, and they don't go back and close that gap. That's one of those, go back to your first question, that's one of those big challenges that you can get ahead of. While you're getting technology training, or before that, also look at, as Sudhakar said, the vendor neutrals, for example, CTA, which gives you that bigger, wider picture view, looks at the basics, addresses the understanding, and helps position really what cloud is for today and the future within the organization. And that then allows you to have that business conversation with the business, while also understanding the technology and the benefits and limitations and challenges and everything else in there, and then how to make it all work with everything else that you have, with all the other IT you've built up over the years. So I think it's to take that kind of view, that kind of approach, and it's a blend of both the technology and also vendor neutral training, which really builds up your skills as opposed to one or the other. It's got to be both.
Great, thank you for responding to the questions. That's all the time that we have for today. I see that still there are questions coming in, but we will make sure to answer all of them via email. So that brings us to the end of the session. Thank you so much, Sudhakar. Thank you very much, Mark, for your input and for the webinar today.
Sudhakar, thank you so much again.
Yeah, thank you, Mark. Thank you very much for your inputs again for this webinar. Yes, thank you and have a good day. Bye.
Bye.